Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I am thrilled to have two amazing guests on. So we have Tandra Allen, who is the president of the Junior League of Dallas, and we have Lauren Combest, who is the co-chair for their signature fundraising event, the 2025 Junior League Milestones Luncheon. And for many years, the Junior League Milestones Luncheon has been one of the very best luncheons in Dallas. And Dallas is a city that I will say, publicly on the air here, they do luncheons exceptionally well. So I am just thrilled and honored that we are able to talk with people behind such a great organization who really know what it takes and the hard work that it takes for a successful fundraiser, especially a luncheon to take place. So with that, Tandra, Lauren, welcome. And I'm just thrilled to have you both on today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to have you here. So, Tandra, I'd love to direct this first question to you. Talk a little bit about what the mission is of the Junior League of Dallas.
Sure. So, we are a women's organization, and our whole purpose is to raise up women leaders who will impact the city of Dallas and create community impact through our volunteer action, collaboration with the city and with the agencies that we serve, and through training. So we are really a training organization. We train ourselves, but we're at the end of the day volunteers that hopefully impact the city for good.
Very well said. And what I have always loved about Junior League, and we've been involved, from a media perspective for many years, not just with the ones in Dallas, but the ones in Houston, the ones in Austin as well, is just how it really is. If you want to know who the leaders, who the emerging leaders of Dallas are, or any major city, look to the Junior League in whatever market you're in, because really you all really do the best job of just about any organization in cultivating a steady generation after generation of leaders. And if I'm not mistaken, you all have been around for quite a while, correct?
103 years to be precise. Yes, we have. So we're really proud of that. Yes.
So that's like 5 or 6 generations. So I mean, that's a lot of generations of leadership people that the Junior League has been able to cultivate. And you can see with that duration and that longevity and that level of success, why the Milestones Luncheon is such a beloved fundraiser, within Dallas. And one thing I always like to ask of guests, and Lauren, we'll start with you on this one. I'm always fascinated about how people get involved with particular organizations. So talk a little bit about how you initially got involved with the Junior League of Dallas.
Yeah, sure, happy to. So honestly, growing up, community service was a big deal in our family. So I kind of grew up with it. My mom was a member of the Junior League in my hometown, and then my dad was really involved with the Boys and Girls Club there. And so my sister and I just really watched my parents have this wonderful experience giving back to their communities. And so when I graduated from college and I moved up to Dallas, like literally the first thing I did was seek out the Junior League of Dallas and be like, how do I become a member? And so I signed up and gosh, I think 14 years later, here I am. So
That's fantastic. So what has made you, because 14 years is a long time to be involved with an organization. So it means you really, you care quite a bit about it. What has made you stay involved with this organization for that long of a period of time? And just so people know, 14 years ago, I don't even know if Instagram was around yet. So and we can't imagine life without it. So I mean, you've really been committed to this organization for a long time. So what has made you come back year after year?
yeah, that is a really great question. And honestly, I don't know that if everyone knows this about the Junior League, but we do a different placement every single year. So your experience in the Junior League is so different, and I think that's part of the reason that kind of kept me coming back is that I got to choose a different avenue every year, and stretch different muscles, meet different women. And so having the ability to, it's not monotonous, really. So having the ability to do something different, really kept me engaged. And every year I learned something new and it was exciting and, a great thing to do.
That's absolutely fantastic. And Tandra, I want to hear a little bit about, how you got involved with the organization. And also, if you can elaborate a little bit, on what Lauren said about your placement program and kind of how that allows members to really always feel like there's something fresh and new going on, within the junior league for them.
Sure. So I'm very different from Lauren. Yes, I did grow up with a heart for service. I've always been driven to want to be part of the community or help in some way, but I did not have any knowledge of the junior league. But I was new to Dallas, and I wanted to get plugged in. I had friends that was throwing this word around. I want to join the junior league, and I didn't know what it was, but I had a coworker who was involved. So I pulled her aside and said, please tell me what it is. And I thought it was a social organization because that's, what you think of, right? We're a social organization. She said, no, this is a training organization. You will be volunteering. So that's why I got involved. I said, this is perfect. I don't have to go in alone. I've got a buddy. This, and my reasons for staying in evolved over time. I thought I was getting involved, yes, of course, for volunteering, and I found my passion. You know um, I still love being able to find what I love to pour into, of course, families, or education, the arts, or whatever it is. And I could dabble in the different placements, but we have 100% turnover every year. So when we say we're a volunteer organization, every single placement is a volunteer placement. We do have 5 staff members, but other than that, everything is run by volunteers. So when we think about being placed into the community, or even running the organization itself, so we have a ton of opportunity to develop our own internal leadership skills or even professional skills. And that's really what excited me. I saw some transfer of knowledge into my own day job that really was exciting, and in areas that were stretching me. Like Lauren said, they were stretching muscles that I didn't get a chance to in my everyday job. I ended up somehow in fundraising and development, and I don't do that in my everyday job. But it was exciting, and it was something new, and it was a safe place to fail. I had a group of friends that I could go along with, and it was, championing you and going alongside you. It was a wonderful support system, and it was a great place to learn, and experiential learning and training on the go. So that's kind of why we have this model, but that's also what makes it exciting. Once you have, I call it, I don't know, a junior league bug, but once you get it, you kind of want to keep going. Yeah.
Well, I love that you're mentioning that. So talk a little bit. I'd love for, one of you, either one of you, feel free to chime in on this, but talk a little bit about like what a placement opportunity looks like, and kind of the training that goes in, and kind of how the giving back kind of dovetails into that as well.
Lauren, you take it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it varies. I mean, there's just so much opportunity. So the placements can really look so different from, placement to placement. We expect our volunteers to give 60 hours of their time to the league each year. But that can look very different. It can look like volunteering at one of our partner organizations, or it can look like serving on the development team, like Tandra mentioned, so serving on fundraising. So like this year, I'm the chair or the co-chair of the luncheon. And so I have a whole luncheon committee that serves alongside me. So anything else to elaborate on there, Tandra?
I mean, well, yeah. So we have, it's interesting when we choose a placement. It's like the world is your oyster. And when you're starting off in the junior league, of course, there's like this learning curve. It's like, oh, there's almost too many choices. We're a large league, and we have the luxury of having a lot of different opportunities. But we're really fortunate to have so many community partners and signature projects. So when we think about community agencies or community involvement, there are some league centered or league driven community initiatives that are really interesting. And so we find that our members today are really looking for opportunities where they can put in some problem solving or really dig deep and really see at the end of 1 year I've made an impact. And so we've partnered with the city in different initiatives like our mayor's back to school fair or our parks and city, some areas that we know are really emerging and needing some direct support. And so these are areas that are also very important for us, and we say, how can we be part of that? And so, if a member says, "Oh, I have an interest in that," they can choose a placement in that. But we have a placement open period where they get to go and shop around, if you will, and they can choose and they get to talk to people. And then they get to select that. And then around 9 months later, that door opens again. And then it's really, there's a period of overlap. But, it really is that in of itself is training because you do get a chance. Every placement offers a new set of training, a new set of skills that you walk away with that you didn't have at the end.
That's fantastic. And that was very well said by, by both of you about,
Mhm.
kind of about how, how the whole placement system works. And Tandra, I want to address this next question to you. So as you mentioned at the top of the show here, the organization's been around for 103 years. So it's been around for a minute or two. So
Yeah.
how has the organization evolved since it began?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think at its core, even when we began 103 years ago, we were always centered on making an impact for the community. We were always volunteer focused. The biggest shift that I've seen in our members are that we have become more vocational focused. So there's a lot of our members. I see a lot more diversity in our membership. Our age spectrum on when members join are as a member are a little bit later in their age range, if you will. And they're also professionals, women who have work outside the home. And of course, we have members who are uh, range in a variety of different skills and professions and talents. And it is amazing to me the level of incredible, smart women who come together. I mean, we have, you name it, any profession, all over the city of Dallas. It doesn't matter, but in a lot of different cultures and belief systems. But we believe we're better together. Um, and we're all focused. The main core mission, we're focused on volunteering and creating an impact together. And that is always going to be the same. But we just do that in different ways.
Very well said, and I love, that you mentioned, there are periods where, they may, people may enter at a younger age range versus an older age range. But I
Mhm.
love that the mission of the organization has stayed true to what it has been for over a century, and that
Mhm.
continuity, along with, the change that goes with a placement every year, you really can see,
Mhm.
why there has just been such a long, bright start with this organization.
Mhm.
And, one of the things that was talked about, I want to direct this next question to Lauren, is just about, giving back. And Lauren, I want you to talk about the importance of younger professionals giving back and how it has helped you personally expand both your personal and professional network being a part of this organization.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I have been the lucky beneficiary of all the gifts that come from getting involved in your community. So I definitely think it is so important. I mean, I think it helps young professionals or young people, create a meaningful connection to the area that they live in. And I think it obviously provides an opportunity for them to network, but I think also to build long-lasting friendships, and those are so important. So, for me specifically, getting involved with Junior League, it's helped me expand both networks, both professional, personal. Tandra touched on this a little bit earlier, but we have more than 4,000 members. And so there's literally someone within the league that has done everything, I think. And so no matter what piece of advice that you are seeking or question that you have, there is someone that you can tap on the shoulder. And so the power of that network is just, it's so great. And so rewarding. So I'm so blessed by giving back to my community, and I think anyone that chooses to do so would be equally as blessed.
What an amazing answer. And 4,000 young women, as emerging leaders, it's just incredible. Now, is there an age range of, who your typical member is?
So we have active members who are in their 20s all the way up to their 40s. And then we have an enormous amount of what we call sustainers. So these are women who are still very much involved and may be volunteering out into the community, or leaders who still pour back, maybe at a mentorship level, but are still probably women that we look up to are probably the executive directors at some of the nonprofits, are leading some of the organizations that they were when they were younger, and then they moved on. There's a lot of those. So our sustaining members also are very active, but perhaps don't have that volunteer requirement that our younger members do. And so, but our active members with the volunteer requirement, those are 20s up to their 40s.
That's fantastic. And I love that, this actually is a good segue into the next question. If I'm going to ask a follow-up question here, Tandra, and that is, the fact that you're able to have people, I don't want to say graduate, but let's just say they become emeritus members, for lack of a better term. That is really creating a devoted following, and no organization lasts over a century. I mean, who was president when you all were founded? Warren Harding. Warren Harding, I think, was president when this chapter was founded. Just to give it some context, people. So, what is one thing that a person or an organization can do to create a devoted following, not just for the organization, but for, this will be a good segue into talking about the event, also into the Milestones Luncheon. What is a secret that you would share with people to get people coming back year after year?
It really is this network that Lauren talked about. And I talked about it a little bit, but the Junior League is a network like none other. It is a safe place where women support each other. It's a safe place to fail. I have formed the deepest friendships through hardships. When you're struggling alongside and you've got a project to work through with someone, and you have to say, all right, we're arm in arm in this, we're going to work through it, we're going to make it happen. You learn how to really lean on each other. And these are friendships that you then look for outside, when in your vocation, you remember and you recall, oh, right, I can call on this person because I need them here in this project now that I'm doing XYZ, or I need them to fill this job role that I'm looking for. And so it is a strong network of women that not only have supported you, but you have deep trust in.
Great answer. And the fact that you all have each other's backs, that really,
Mhm.
to know that you're not alone in whatever you want to pursue, and that you've always got someone to lean on, you can see where that devotion kind of comes into place. And I think this is a good turn to kind of talk a little bit about, talk about the luncheon some. And Tandra, I'll start with you on this, but Lauren, I definitely want you to chime in on this question. So, how do you all go about creating not just the community support, but also the financial support as well, to allow you all to do what you do through this luncheon?
Mhm. Yeah, so it truly is. I'll call it the trifecta. So I mentioned this is a training organization, but We train, we volunteer, we fundraise. And it's this yearly or it's this 3-year cycle for us from a fundraising cycle. We train our women. They go out into the community, they volunteer, but we also fundraise. And so when we fundraise and we bring those dollars back in, we have a committee that then says, all right, I mean, literally every single dollar, every penny is evaluated and says, where can I send this that has the most direct impact? Where are the agencies that need these dollars? Where are the agencies that need our volunteers? And we thoughtfully look through that. And so when we take that financial support, we have women who are researching this and outlining where that needs to go, and then those dollars are then employed, and we have a process where grants are provided out to these agencies or projects, and then we send our volunteers out. And so we have this 3-year cycle where we fundraise, we plan where the dollars go, and then we send it out. But it is very thoughtful. We listen for where the community is telling us it needs to go, and we plan.
So
But when I say every single penny, I mean every single penny is allotted for, and we discuss, and Lauren knows this because we sat on the committee for when we did this together. And yeah, every single penny is thoughtfully laid out.
And that's the hallmark of a well-run organization. And Lauren, I'd love, from a co-chair's perspective, talk about how important the committee is, committees are in creating a successful organization, and specifically, but this luncheon that you're doing, because it's not just I'm the co-chair and what I say goes. That's not how it is. We're not, in France in the late 1700s in an absolute monarchy there. What we are is it takes a village to make a successful event happen. So talk a little bit about how the committees help you execute your vision for what you want the luncheon to be.
Oh, yes, for sure. It is not a one-woman show by any means. And it definitely takes a village, and many villages, to be honest. So, like I mentioned earlier, I do have a luncheon committee that specifically helps plan the day of the event, making sure that it is super special and it is engaging and that people are going to have a really wonderful experience. But it's not just the luncheon committee that helps plan the event. There's so many different committees that help us, that we lean on. Tandra mentioned the sustainers, the kind of the older group that are still super involved. We lean on them too, to make sure that we are really creating an engaging fundraiser, because that's kind of the start of our trifecta, right? So this luncheon really serves as the starting point before we can give these funds back out into our community. So it is super important, and it really does. It takes all kinds to really get this event off the ground and to be successful.
Fantastic answer. And the other thing, and I've noticed it just in the rapport that the two of you have, and Tandra, I want to direct this question to you. How important is having a strong relationship with you as the head of your organization, with co-chairs like Lauren, in helping you create a successful event? How important is that?
Oh, well, I mean, it definitely helps. Lauren and I have been friends for a while, and I think it started back when we followed each other, just happened chance to R&D, that's Research and Development Committee. Communication, communication. It is the foundation of how anything runs well. And perhaps this is a junior league trained lesson that we know, but it's one of those things that we know how to plan well. We anticipate and communicate. And so, yes, and we have to have a little fun along the way. We have to keep it lighthearted. We have to have our spirits a little light and lifted. And so it really helps to have someone that and lift you up on those down days and keep you going and motivated. So I would say, it really does help because carries the mood of the event, believe it or not. It is felt throughout. If there's tension, I think it does impact overall the committee. It trickles down.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And Lauren, I'd love to hear your take on this from a chair's perspective.
Oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with what Tandra said. The relationship between the event chair and the organization really can set the tone for the entire day of the event. And it's so important because I think, guests can sense when there's a wonderful working relationship and a mutual sense of respect and even the fun aspect, right? Like we want to make sure that people know that Junior League, in addition to everything we do, we're still fun, and so I think that it's incredibly important, and people can also sense, when there's a good relationship, but also when there's a tense one, and so it is vitally important to the success.
Completely agree. And I've been to so many events that may be produced on lower budgets where you can see the simpatico energy and it goes great. And I've been to events that have been multi-million dollar and you can just tell there are two corners. And that makes all the difference in the world. But what that really does is, and you're absolutely right, Lauren, guests can sense that. And when people feel that tension, they don't want to be there as much as when the leadership is all aligned. When you bring that unified front, the guests really want to be there and they bring the fundraising and the passion, but they also bring, as Tandra mentioned, they bring the fun aspect to it too, because people want to be having fun where they're doing, and that's why we have fun and fundraising is, there has to be that element of fun, to do that. And one thing that I have always been so just in awe and impressed with your luncheon is just the incredible slate of featured speakers you all have had over the years, because it's phenomenal who you're able to draw. So Tandra, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how the organization goes about selecting who the featured speaker is for, each year's luncheon.
Sure. I mean, it really is working in tandem with the luncheon co-chairs. And we start with a dream list and we kind of say, oh, who are the people? And we start, and then we start to think, what's a reality? What's on our, who are the resources that we can reach out to? It was quite fun um, when Lauren and Debbie Oates and I first started meeting, and we sat down with our individual lists and we compared and contrasted. And, we each came from different age ranges. And so, we have people that, we looked up to, and we thought about what would draw the best, attendance or what would land well. Of course, budget. We have to be junior league minded. We always think about budget, right? So all of those factors are weighed in. But yeah, it's a fun dream list that gets whittled down. And then we kind of have a top three, and then we go from there.
Okay, so it's like a vetting process that you all do as leaders, and you all get together and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
these are the three. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
ask this next question because this is something that a lot of organizations struggle with when they want somebody high profile. What is a piece of advice you would give to somebody looking to engage a celebrity or other high profile individual to appear at their signature fundraising event?
Mm-hmm.
I can jump in on that one. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
because
Lauren. Go for it.
yeah, I was the one doing the outreach, and so
Wonderful.
I started out really nervous, and I was like, oh my gosh, how does one even go about approaching this person or making this ask? And so, in hindsight, what I would have told myself is to just be your authentic self, and don't overthink it. And don't be afraid to reach out to them or talk to them because they're human too. And so, really thinking about it, and they're people, and they have good hearts and they want to do things like this. And so, I don't think it should be as scary as some people think.
Very well said. Now, are you both able to share who this year's featured speaker is and how excited you all are to have them?
Yeah, we can. So Alex Snodgrass will be our featured speaker this year. She is local to Dallas. She's actually a born and bred Texan. And so I don't know if you're familiar with her, Rob, but she is a New York Times best-selling cookbook author. She's been on the list 3 times. All 3 of her cookbooks have hit that list. She is a female entrepreneur. She started a side business called Side Dish. They're delicious, by the way. And she has this wonderful kind of influencer following on Instagram, and she is just really authentic and wonderful as a human. She loves giving back to the community. So we are so excited to feature her this year.
That is fantastic. And you all typically, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the times, the people who you do have are featured speakers. Many times are authors, maybe not every year, but I do know that you have had a very good track record of attracting amazing authors over the years. Is that correct?
Mhm.
It's
Absolutely. So, I want to hear a little bit more, and Tandra, maybe you can chime in on this one, but tell us a little bit about what guests can expect to experience at this year's Milestones Luncheon.
Sure. So, what they can experience is that they're going to feel, as Lauren kind of hinted, our speaker is local to Dallas. So, they will feel all about Dallas. We are also honoring an incredible sustainer, Peggy Sewell, who is such a tremendous, iconic, um, just tremendous force within our Dallas area. And so this is going to be an amazing honor that we just can have to spotlight her alongside having, of course, Alex Snodgrass. But this is a Dallas focused, elegant experience where hopefully we can share our story. I think you're going to hear some really personal stories of how perhaps we have been able to impact different areas within the community. Maybe walk away with a little tearjerker or two if we do it right. But also, we hope that you're able to see some friends. That's what's wonderful about a luncheon is where you get to see a friend, maybe do a toast across the room, do a wonderful hug that you haven't seen with someone in a while. But have a wonderful time with them and sit down and hear a wonderful speaker. And that's what, yes, walk away with a smile.
Walking away with a smile. And that's always great, in the middle of the day, especially for an event in the middle of the day where people are, they're taking time out of their day to come, to
Mhm.
come to the luncheon. And Lauren, talk a little bit, what's one thing you want to add that guests can expect to experience at this year's luncheon, especially coming from the chair's perspective?
Yeah. I think we're hoping to add in a lot of special touches, like Tandra said, just really wanting to evoke the pride of living in Dallas and what that means to be in such a vibrant city. So we're definitely wanting to connect that with Alex, and we do have a handful of surprises up our sleeve that I can't share with you here, but
It
it'll be a
never
lot of
hurts to ask,
fun.
Lauren. It never hurts to ask.
It was a good try.
Absolutely. You have to try and try if you might, right? So, but what I love about what you were talking about being hyper local was last year you had, Robin Roberts, who is the co-anchor of Good Morning America in. So that allows guests to and that's to me, one of the hallmarks of a great event is you're keeping your guests guessing every year as to who or what the theme's going to be. And there's a level of intrigue and excitement about that, you're going to be able to draw core devoted followers, but you're going to also have different people coming in because each of them loved Robin last year or they love Alex this year. And I think that's just really one of the hallmarks of a great event. And I know that there will be tweak, fun little surprises along the way that'll be amazing. And I know we're coming up on time here, and always love ending with this question. So Lauren, I'd love for you to answer first, and then Tandra, you can have the last word. But that is, what is one thing all great signature fundraising events have in common?
This is a great question. And I kind of have two answers for you. I kind of have a silly one and then a more serious one. But what we have learned over the years is that the valet experience can really have an impact on the tone of how that goes. So if you would be surprised, so really making sure that the valet and the parking situation is a good experience for your guests. But really, I think the ability of your event to connect with your guests in a meaningful way, is what keeps them coming back, and wanting to be engaged with your organization. So, I'd say making sure that that story is front and center, and that you're tugging at their heartstrings a little bit is a recipe for success.
Both of those answers were really good, and I'm really glad that you brought up valet, because that is often the first and last experience a guest has at an event. So while it may be a silly answer, quote unquote, it is very, very succinct, because like I know one socialite in one of the other Texas cities who basically instructs their valets to never move their seats, because they don't want the last thing to remember is that they're fidgeting with their seat because the valet was either way taller or way shorter than they were. So there's really a lot of merit in that. So even though it may have been kind of a fun answer, it's also a very serious one. So I'm really, and no one's brought it up. We're at like episode 110 here, and no one's ever brought that one up. So kudos and props to you for that one. And Tandra, you have the last word.
Well, I can't beat that one. Okay, I'll throw out a silly one. I'll chuckle on this one, but I'll say, a memorable fundraiser always may have breakfast wine. As we say, you have to start with a toast. Gets, little bubbles never hurts. But truthfully, what I hope we walk away with, what I know makes me feel connected and is a signature of a successful fundraiser and a successful luncheon, is when you feel part of a family. When you walk away, you are part of this organization. You may not have known about anything when you walked in. You may have been invited from a friend because you were part of a table guest, but you walked away and you thought, wow, that is an organization that I have been invited to be part of their family. And now I know that I'm part of their mission. It wasn't just, oh, I understand the mission. Now I am part and invested in the mission. And so that is my goal. And I think that is the hope, that every person walking in through this door feels like they're part of our family, because they are. We are welcoming them, and we hope that they feel that they are welcomed.
That is a perfect answer to end on. That was such a great answer. And really, your family of 4,000 that everyone can kind of feel like a sister to each other is really incredible. And the fact that you have been able to do this successfully for a century, there's so few organizations that can say that. So I'm just beyond thrilled that you both were able to join us today. So Lauren, Tandra, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with both of you.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you. It's been fun.
Absolutely. And the Milestones Luncheon benefiting the Junior League of Dallas will be held on April 11th, 2025 at the Omni Hotel in Dallas, Texas. For more information, please visit jldallas.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day and take care.